Slowly kisses passing by the river. I've been missing your strawberry.
Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Tracy.
Hi.
We were in the same PhD program in the University of Michigan, and she graduated already. I'm still in school. So, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. So my name is Tracy. I grew up in Michigan, so I've lived here my whole life, and then I met Aliya when she came to school here, and then we've been besties since we met. How long ago? 3.5 years? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I just finished my PhD in public health epidemiology.
And you guys can call her Dr. Carson.
Yes, I'm Dr. Tracy Carson.
Yeah, Dr. So, one Dr. Carson and one future Dr. Olim.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Oh, yes.
Next year. Yeah. So today we want to talk 5 things that I wish I knew before I go to grad school or PhD. So I have a list of 5-ish and Tracy has a list of 5-ish. We will share each other.
Yeah, anyone looking into grad schools, preparing for grad school, take our tips, think about them before you make your decision.
Yeah.
And as you start preparing to start school again.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. Okay, so number one thing. So I really wish before I went to grad school, I wish I knew that when you get to grad school, nobody knows what they're doing. You're all like learning, starting off on this new path together. I thought going to grad school that you had to be like fully prepared, you have to know what you're doing at all times. But the whole point of grad school is to like learn along the way, right? Like I thought that people just knew and that I was like not as smart as everyone else. When really we're all just learning together. So I think going in with like an open mind that like nobody's perfect, you're not going to be perfect, but you're going to learn so much and grow so much during your studies.
Process.
Yeah.
I completely relate to that because, you know, the one of the things that I wrote down is the impulsive syndrome.
Yeah.
That I actually learned that after I came to Michigan when I started my program. Like the very important things that you should know is when the school and the program selected you, it means you're qualified and you deserve to be here and you're one of the best to be here.
Right.
But when you get the offer, you know you're like that. But when the day that you step in and when you start the program, when you were around all the excellent people and you start to doubt yourself that, am I really that good enough? Am I the best? Am I deserve to be here? So you talk about, you ask yourself this kind of question all the time. Everybody have that experience and you're not alone. And you have to keep telling yourself, because this is grad school, a PhD program, you're a student, you're learning, you're not going to be good at everything. The key thing is, just like what Tracy said, nobody's perfect and you're learning and growing along the way.
Yeah, if you're already so good, you wouldn't be going to grad school, you'd be past that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Number one, we have in common.
Yes.
Okay, next one. So my number 2 is, before I started my PhD program at University of Michigan, I wasn't that paying attention to the community around the department, that how supportive they are.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I was selecting school, I wasn't really looking for that. That wasn't on my list. When I was selecting school, I was looking at, okay, do they give me stipend? They're a mentor that I really like. How strong is the program? That's the only thing I looked at. However, after I started my program, I feel like there's one thing is extremely important is the whole package, the whole community should suit you. Like at least for our University of Michigan, I know the community is really warm, everybody helps each other, and I like to live in that apartment, like everybody thrive together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, sometimes it's hard to know until you're there what type of community that you're coming into. And so for me, I was there for my master's degree, my Master of Public Health, and then started the PhD program. So I kind of knew coming in what the community was like at the School of Public Health in Michigan, but for someone like you coming from a different master's program to Michigan, that is trickier.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Like I knew what I was getting into
Yeah.
a little bit more,
Yeah.
and you had to just like trust that it was going to be like a positive place to spend a few years of grad school. So my number 2 is, I think, really important, and it's hard when you're a grad student, but take at least one full day off a week, like probably Saturday or Sunday, of no working, right? And that's hard.
Yeah.
And you say like, yeah, sure, I'm not going to work on Sunday, it's going to be a full day of rest, spend it with my friends, my partner, go shopping, whatever, but then like that like guilt of being a grad student and like all your to-do lists that you have to do. But I think it's so important to take one full day where you can like refresh, and then you're going to start that next week off stronger.
Yeah.
Instead of burning out, and then you start Monday and you're already tired. Instead of starting Monday like, okay, I'm ready to go, we're going to like start this week on a good note. So That's my advice. Take a full day off.
I completely agree with that. Sometimes when we had the crazy course load,
Yeah.
I think taking one day off, it feels like a drain. That it's such a luxury to do it. However, it does pay you back. That you feel such refreshed, and it makes you happy too. Like even though we love what we're doing, what we're learning,
Yeah.
but if you're doing it straight for 7 days, it's draining, and you need to punish yourself.
Yeah. Use that day that you take off from schoolwork or research work to do things that make you so happy. Like maybe it's like a hobby, or just like spend more time outside, or do something creative to like use other parts of your brain. So that when you go back to schoolwork on the Monday or the next day, it's going to be refreshed.
Yeah, I agree. Refreshed. Okay, next one. I wish I could manage my time a little bit better.
Yeah.
When you're working on so many things at the same time, you cannot find a balance. At least for me, sometimes I will be a workaholic that when I finish coursework, I will spend so much time to working on something that I worked with my mentor that just exhausts me so much that I don't know how to say no. When people ask you to do, I just say yes and take it all on.
Yeah.
However, I should able to do the amount that I'm supposed to do every week rather than just take everything in. So I think that's something that I should have learned earlier, to say no to the things that I don't have time to do. Prioritize things that are actually really important for me to graduate as a graduate student.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so hard, especially I think at first, because I don't know about you, but I felt like guilty for taking time off, like even at nighttime. Like if it was even like 7, 8, 9 o'clock, I was like, well, I should keep working until I need to fall asleep, instead of like taking time for myself and like having boundaries, like you were saying, like taking on things, like saying yes to everything. It's harder to set boundaries because there's like the pressure to like take on all this work and like work all the time, but like we were saying, feeling refreshed is so important, or else you burn out and then you lose like excitement about what you're doing, and that's like then it's really hard. It just gets harder the more burnout that you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
So my number 3, I wish that I would have gotten a pet sooner. So I got a little dog. She's on the corner of the couch right now taking a nap. But I wish I had gotten her sooner. So I got her during the pandemic when I was home all the time because I needed like a companion because I live alone. And she has brought so much happiness to my life. She's the cutest little rescue dog, and she cuddles me, she's so sweet, and it's just so nice to have a little animal to take care of. And it actually helps me with work-life balance because I like go out on more walks with her. I have to prioritize her at certain times instead of just being so sucked into my work. It's nice to have to take care of something else.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that advice.
Yeah,
I want a dog too.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. So I just have to say I'm jealous with that. So yeah, one day. People in grad school, no matter in master program or PhD program, there are a lot of fun people. They're not just nerds and concentrating in academia. Only you will surprise how many people have their own hobby outside of their main focus, and everybody is so unique and so fun.
I agree. Like I thought coming into the PhD program that I'm like not gonna have any friends. Everyone's gonna be just really isolated, doing their own thing. But then I came away with like best friends. Our like study group became best friends, the 4 of us. And then I'm also great friends with other people in our cohort who are so sweet and kind, and like you said, all have their own thing going on in life. So my number 4 is that in grad school, you're going to feel like you don't have a lot of money. On one hand, I think Michigan is really generous with making sure we have funding in the summers. I learned from a lot of my friends that are in PhD programs, sometimes they don't get summer funding at all. And so we're lucky that
that's 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months we have funding, and it's, our department is really good about making sure that we're all doing okay financially, I would say. But the amount of money that we get is not a lot to work with. So I think the biggest thing for me is like, oh, it's really hard to have savings. So like save for the future, save for like accidents that may happen. And so I think that is also something I wish I knew a little bit more about. It's like the finances of how my finances would look during grad school, and then also how it would impact right after, like what I'm going through right now.
I know.
So it's tough. It's a tough situation to talk about it and like
Yeah.
go through, but
I completely agree. And it really depending on which city you're at, it
That's
makes the stipend you get for a PhD program may not even enough for you.
Mhm.
However, I think all the university, they're pretty smart with their finances. They calculate the exact amount that you can
Yeah.
barely survive. So you get enough amount to get apartment, pay for your food, do some basic living.
yeah.
But there's no way that you have enough money to invest for your future,
Yeah.
to do everything. Yeah, and she graduated, so she's better now.
Well, I don't have a job yet, so.
Okay, so my next thing is maybe a little bit repeated to the first one that we talked about. The guideline for the program, they have average timeline for everybody finish everything. For example, in our department, epidemiology is generally finished in 3.5 or 4 years. And in other program, I know in biology it's like 5 years, 6 years, and history, philosophy is even longer.
8 years, 9 years.
Yeah, so
So long.
every major is a little different,
Mhm.
and even within major, everybody is a little bit different as well. During the whole process, people going through each milestone at different time point. So it's very important to know that don't compare yourself with anybody else. It's only gonna stress yourself out. Nothing benefits you, and especially like during the whole pandemic, no one foresee how it's gonna affect our dissertations.
Mhm.
And I know Tracy, you never planned to graduate like a half a year early,
Yeah.
but you did,
Mhm.
and I never expected myself it's gonna take one extra year to do it.
Yeah.
But now I'm doing it, so things changes, and you cannot just like blame yourself or like
Yeah.
compare yourself. It's just make your life miserable, and you just have to embrace what you have and
Mhm.
keep working on yourself.
Yeah, that's so important, I think, too, because, like, for example, I think, so, like, my brother was in medicine, or is in medicine, so, like, medical school, everybody in your class is the same timeline,
Mhm.
or, like, you're in the same process.
Mhm.
You take the exams at the same time, a whole way long, you graduate, hopefully at the same time, right? But, like, our process is so independent. Like, there's so much freedom, but then everyone has such a different situation.
Mhm.
So your advisor will really, like, have a big influence on you. How your research goes will have a big influence.
Mhm.
COVID,
Yeah.
were you still collecting data during COVID? It's going to have delay on that. So there's so many, there's so many different factors that PhD students go through because we're on independent paths,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So past first year after comps,
Yeah.
then we're like free to kind of like roam on our own.
I know.
But that's really great and challenging because then it's hard not to compare yourself to other people
Mhm.
and other people's like process and progress. So
Yeah.
okay, so my last one, it kind of like matches with some other things we've said. But I think what I wish I knew, like especially my second year, was to ask questions sooner when I didn't know something.
Mhm.
Instead of waste, right? There's no wasted time, but like instead of spend a lot of extra time
Mhm.
on something when I could have easily asked one of my mentors
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm.
Not so, like for example, like we do a lot of coding in our program.
Mhm.
You know, when you're stuck on one little line of code
Mhm.
for a week, it's like I really could have asked somebody
Uh-huh.
in the same day, can you look at this, what is off?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so things like that like I would be stubborn about because I wanted to figure it out on my own,
Mhm.
but it would just set me back like a week,
Mhm.
and I'm not learning that much by getting stuck on one line of code, right?
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like figuring out like what are the things you want to invest that time in to figure out yourself versus like this is a tiny thing, I need help, and then asking for help and admitting that you need help. That's hard for me.
I agree. Maybe master program is a little bit different from the PhD. You all have thesis, but for a doctoral thesis, it's more like independent research.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out everything by yourself, learn every new things by yourself. When you have any coding problem, methodological problem, it's your job to figure it out rather than to ask other people first. So we have the habit of trying to figure out ourselves.
Yeah.
But I totally, completely agree with Tracy that I have learned along the way too. No matter I have methodological problem, coding problem, I will try to spend a few hours to go figure out. If I couldn't, I just reach out to the professional biostatistical people or who is expert that to get a different opinion. So I don't ask them to just directly look at what I have, but I throw out my questions. So it inspired me to figure out where it is. It's super important that you know what resources that you school
so true.
have and you can ask. That's pretty much what we have.
Yeah.
I hope this helps, and I hope you guys love my guest. If you like it, please like and comment and subscribe. Okay.